Hey, everybody, welcome to the True Crime Squad. I'm Kristi Brower, here with my sister, co host, and partner in all things crime, Katie Weaver. Hey, Katie.
Hello.
How's it going?
Oh, good. What a good day.
Oh my gosh, what a day. And I'm all screwed up. It's Wednesday. This
It's
this
Wednesday.
week has been so weird. I was camping on Monday and then there was no court on Tuesday.
Yeah.
So I can't remember what day it is.
Had a hard time
It's
settling in.
Wednesday.
Yeah.
Damn it. It's Wednesday.
It's
So,
Wednesday.
welcome to all of you in the chat. If you're here with us live, welcome. If you're with
Yeah.
us after the fact, we appreciate you all being here so very much. And Katie, before we get started, I know you have a little bit of show and tell for us.
I do. I was trying to be a little productive, while watching and
I'm
listening
impressed.
to all of court today. So, I don't know if you guys have heard the going argument right now amongst women about whether or not they'd rather be alone in the woods with a potential bear or a strange man. And as you're probably not too surprised to hear, most women are choosing the bear
Right.
because statistically, a man's a lot more likely to attack you than a bear.
Mhm.
Also, the bear, you can predict their behavior. And the
Mhm.
man, well, who knows what he's going to do. And like one person said, you won't ever have to see the bear at a family reunion. Anyway,
Good point. Good point. Yes.
so I was thinking today that I wanted to do some bear merch of sorts. It's not really merch, but so I'll show you what I made. So I did 3 different tumblers, and they all just say Team Bear on them. So they're all folk.
Oh, I
I
love it.
love folk art. Love folk art.
Oh, yeah, me too.
So Team Bear. Team Bear. This is the wildflower version,
Cute.
and then that's the aspen version.
Very cute.
Aren't they fun? So this is how they'll be on cups.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I think they're cute. And I'm doing them on the same cups that I do the True Crime Squad cups on, that are 30 ounces, which are just nicer, and you get a really good sized drink out of those. So yeah.
Yeah.
But then I also made a hoodie. I actually designed a hoodie and got Scott to stitch it out today, which is a
Wow.
miracle because I told him it's going to do really well. And now I'm like, come on, hoodie.
Right.
You have to do well. I promised. Okay. So it's just in the same light. It says Team Bear on the back, and then the front of it, I think is really cute. The front of it has a little smattering of moon and stars that match
Oh,
the moon and stars on the back. So here it is
cute.
stitched out.
Oh, wow. I love it.
Isn't that cute? I love it.
I
So of
love
course
it.
we do it in all the regular colors that we do, except for black. It's just not going to look good in black, obviously. So
Yeah, but I mean the stitching's beautiful.
yeah, it's really pretty, really pretty. So anyway, so yeah, somebody was actually productive today. I'm pretty proud of myself. What can I
Nice.
say? I got my
If you
ass
just
in
go
gear.
to truecrimesquad.com and click on our merch, you'll find that the merch is just on Katie's um Etsy store.
Yeah, I'll put
Right
up a link
there.
right now too. But yep, True Crime Squad, Joyful Goddess on Etsy. Thank you.
Yeah,
So yeah,
I love it.
fun
I'm definitely
stuff.
Team Bear. And
Me
I mean we live near Yellowstone. We've been camping in bear country our entire lives.
Yeah.
Bears are way safer than men. Way safer. Love it. All right. Well, as some of you have said, it was intense in court today. Very much so. Oh, Rose, I'm so happy. Hang on. Sorry. Let me just tell you what Rose said. I ordered a red fidget snail necklace. I make little things out of resin. I don't have anything to show you at this moment, but and he used it yesterday. Oh, good. I love my snail. Thank you, Christy Lincoln. It's a little snail that you can wear around your neck, and it's fluid filled. Oh yeah, Katie's got one of hers
I've
right
got
there.
mine sitting right here. Yeah.
They're
They're kind
really
of hard
fun.
to
I like
see
to
in
make
this
stuff out
light,
of
but
resin. I've
yeah,
just
they're
been
super cute.
so busy with this trial. I haven't done a whole lot lately. But oh, Rose, I'm so glad. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I
Very
appreciate
fun.
that a lot.
Yeah.
Okay, well, yes, very intense day in court today because we started out with a witness we have been waiting for a while now, and that is Dr. Christensen.
Mm-hmm.
Christensen is the uh, was at the time the chief medical examiner for the state of Utah. He's now retired, but he was the medical examiner that did Tammy Daybell's autopsy when her body was exhumed.
Yeah.
This was a somber day for, I don't know, everyone except for Chad, because there were a lot of
Yeah.
pictures shown. We did not see them. They didn't show them on the live stream or to the gallery,
Yeah.
which I'm totally okay with that. I don't need to
Yeah.
see them at all, um,
No. And the
in the
world
least.
doesn't need to see that.
No,
No.
no. But this was a really important day because this is where we get to hear exactly why Chad is charged with first-degree murder of his
Yep.
wife. And we've heard a lot of things about the
Mhm.
story and how this supposedly happened and all of the different versions of the story of the night Tammy died and all the things that have happened. But what we know now, what the jury knows now, is what is the cause of death. And we know the cause of death is asphyxia and that the
Mhm.
manner of death is homicide. And to the medical examiner, that means that someone else was involved in this person's death.
Mhm.
And that asphyxia simply means that the person was unable to get enough oxygen.
Yeah.
Let's see. So, asphyxia can occur in a lot of different ways, as we know. Smothering, choking, drowning, chemicals like carbon monoxide or cyanide. When Christensen examined Tammy's body, he saw, other than bruises, no external injuries or any kind of traumatic event that had been the cause of her death, no broken bones, nothing like that.
No
Her heart,
defensive wounds.
lungs, yep, no defensive wounds. Her heart, lungs, liver, and kidneys were normal.
Well, not her lungs,
Well, but of
but
normal function.
yes, yeah.
Yeah. Um, he said there was no pathological explanation for her death. There was nothing physically wrong with her body that went wrong and killed her. Like,
Correct.
you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
a seizure, for example.
Yeah.
But what he did say is that there was some bruising on her arms and chest. And this was super, super important because we've heard
Mhm.
from uh, Brenda Dye and the police officers that were there and present when Tammy died that she didn't have any injuries, including bruises. We have heard from the quote unquote friend of Chad's or former friend of Chad's, who is the man who picked her body up from the
Mhm.
funeral home here in Idaho and drove her to Utah, and that he checked her body on 2 different occasions
Mhm.
for injuries because this all seemed very sketchy. And they all said her body showed what? No injuries.
Yeah.
But 2 months later, she has bruising.
Yeah.
So this was a little paper he filled out in the courtroom to show where the injuries were. So she had bruising on her right arm, the front and back of her right arm, some
Mhm.
on her, one bruise on her left, and a bruise on her chest. Now, we know because this was asked by Lindsay Blake that he did extra testing on these bruises because
Mhm.
why hadn't they shown up? Because they were very deep bruises and they
Mhm.
had very little time to heal before she died.
Yep.
And he can prove that, which means, that these likely had something to do with her death.
Yeah.
Now, we've had a theory I personally have had a theory all along
Mhm.
that they held her down and someone kneeled a knee on her chest, and that's where that bruise on her chest came from. Because she doesn't have any injuries on her face
No.
that would be, somebody holding her down. She doesn't have injuries on her throat. But all you have to do is keep someone from being able to breathe. And if you compress their lungs
Mhm.
and they can't breathe, they can't expand their lungs,
Mhm.
they die of asphyxia.
Mhm.
And that bruising, like somebody's got their hand on her and pinning her down with a knee, and someone else has got her on the other side, because there were two guys there,
Yep.
um, would hold her down and keep her from being able to breathe. Now, her
Mhm.
lungs were heavy because
Yep.
she had pulmonary edema from asphyxiation, from the injuries caused to her body when she was trying to breathe and couldn't and was held
Yep.
down. Pryor has tried to say all along that that has some kind of pathology, that and the um, medical examiner said that is not true at all.
Right.
That was caused by whatever caused her to not be able to breathe.
Mhm.
This was so important because it's very simple. Pryor wants to make it very complicated, and it isn't. A couple of people pinned her down and kept her from breathing until she died.
Mhm.
That's what happened. And those bruises tell you everything. And they told that medical examiner everything. One thing that I really appreciated about this guy was how sure he is this
Mhm.
time.
Yeah.
He was not as sure in Lori's trial.
Right. He was very confident. Yeah.
He was. And
Mhm.
Pryor, tried in cross to question him and pressure him and get him to say maybe it was possible. And um, he did actually fall for that a little bit with
Mhm.
Lori's attorneys,
Yep.
but not this time. He
No.
said, absolutely not. I don't believe that's true. I don't believe any of those other things are true. This is how she died.
Yeah. Really quick, want to thank my 2 cents for the super chat sticker and just remind you guys
Yes,
the super chat's on. You can also tip us if you want to by going over to truecrimesquad.com, and there's a few different ways to do it. So throw that out there quickly. Yeah.
most definitely. All of your support everywhere is so appreciative. You guys were growing
So
like
appreciated.
crazy.
Yep.
So much help and support, and we just love it.
Yeah.
Um, I
The
just,
seizures. I
yeah.
loved that they talked about seizures a couple of times.
Well,
There
and
was
that they
played way too many of his cards,
oh, he
you know.
has.
And
He
the
has,
way,
yeah.
basically the ME said there's no physical evidence in Tammy's body that would indicate that she was having seizures. None
And
in
no
any
history of.
places, and no history of. No.
And
But you
just
think
because
about
Chad
how
said
stupid
it,
that is. Have you guys ever seen
yeah,
someone have a seizure?
yeah, sure have.
It is scary as hell.
Hmm.
Do you really mean to tell me that Tammy had been having seizures for years and had never once been taken to the hospital? 911 had never
Right.
been called. She had never been to the doctor for seizures, even though she was just having seizures willy nilly. Bullshit.
Yeah.
Also, she was driving, which
Yeah.
also tells you that she had never sought care for seizures, or she may
No.
not have been driving. But
Right.
I love
She
that
would
he
have been
was
afraid to
just,
drive.
hmm yep, or disallowed from driving, had she actually been to the doctor and said she was having seizures. Sometimes that means you can't drive for a while, until they're taken care of. But no,
Oh,
none of
yeah.
those things
6
were
months to a
true.
year.
Yeah.
Yeah, none of those things were true. They also immediately brought up the let's say it all together for Pryor. Fluoxetine, for God's sakes. How many times does he have to have somebody pronounce that for him before he can do it himself?
Mhm.
She brought that up too and brought
Yep.
it right up with the medical examiner, which was great because that was Pryor's other
Mhm.
gotcha. And he shut that right down.
Yep.
That no, there was no indication. She'd been on a stable dose for years and
Mhm.
had never had a reaction prior to now. You
Yep.
don't just suddenly react to a medication that you've been on for a long time.
Mhm. No. And that was a great point. I was so glad he did. Also,
Yeah.
On the bruising, one of our brilliant listeners earlier today pointed out if Tammy actually had active low iron, where's the bruises? The
Yeah.
only bruises she had were the ones that were very, 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 very new and deep. No bruises at all on her
Right.
shins, her legs, any other place that you might expect from somebody. No bruises.
No.
And the way Pryor was like, did you know she was using salves? She was using creams and salves and potions and,
Yeah.
whatever for all the bruises. And he's like, huh? Yeah. No. For what bruises, John?
Whatever.
What bruises?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pryor definitely brought up the anemia thing again, which just friggin' kills me.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, and the doctor was like, well, it was mentioned in her medical records 5 years ago. It's never been mentioned since.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, anemia is a common thing in women.
Mm-hmm.
And anemia is a common thing in women Tammy's age. If you've got fibroids or some kind of heavy bleeding as you're moving into menopause,
Mm-hmm.
duh,
Yeah.
been there, had a
Yeah.
hysterectomy for it.
Yeah.
Not to mention the fact that none of them have brought this up, but runners also get anemia, and she was a
Yeah.
runner.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, he tried all of the tactics and
Mm-hmm.
he got nowhere.
Right? Anemia is a death sentence, don't you know? Right, Heather? And
Right? To hear him
progressive
talk.
anemia as well, because
Yes,
that's a thing.
progressive. If you are anemic and getting worse and worse, then you go to a doctor because
Mhm.
you feel like you're going to die. It
You're
happened to me
definitely
last
not
fall.
going to clogging and Zumba and high
No.
intensity classes and serving in the Relief Society and all of the other things she was doing.
Yeah. Absolutely. It just killed me. The other thing was, Lindsay. Lindsay was so fast on the objection button with Pryor during his cross with the medical examiner today. It was hilarious. I should have made a montage. I'll make one. I just didn't get a chance to today. I would like a montage of objection, argumentative. Uh, he's testifying. Move to strike. And she would just. It was
Asked
so
and
fast,
answered. Yeah.
and the judge was just like, granted, granted, granted. Yeah.
Sustain.
Bec-
Sustain.
yeah,
Yeah.
sustained. It went on and on and on because Pryor tried all of his bullshit, and their case was so tight today. It got nowhere. It just made him look like an idiot,
Hmm. Well, and he
like
was
a
just
total
shrinking
idiot.
in his shoes more and more and
He
more.
was because he was getting no traction at all.
Well, he had his ass killed on Monday in court with
He did.
the with Balance, with Agent Balance.
Hmm.
Remember that he thought he had these real smoking gun ideas about the
He did.
techniques and the stuff that was used, and he just got completely obliterated. And then we said today that that Lindsay Blake clogged all over his face in honor of Tammy
And she sure did.
because she beat his ass down in court again today. And you
Oh
could
my
just see him
gosh.
shrinking. I
Hmm.
suspect that a good amount of his case got blown to smithereens between yesterday or between Monday and today
I
because
think
a
you're right.
lot of the theories they've been throwing out got put to bed by experts. Now he's going to have expert witnesses that come out and try and argue this, but that's going to be pretty tough to do when the jury has
That's a
already
tough one.
heard from these guys.
Right. And why would the medical examiner for the state of Utah
Hmm.
lie about this autopsy?
Right.
What would be his motivation? You
Hmm.
know?
Yep.
Kat says, I thought I'd heard at one time she had stomach contents. She did have stomach contents. The whole she threw up and was so sick.
Hmm.
No, at the autopsy, they discovered that she, in fact, did have undigested food in her stomach.
Hmm.
So there was no throwing up.
Hmm.
If there were throwing up, her stomach would have been empty. It's just one strike after another to all of this bullshit
Hmm.
that Pryor has tried to build up as something.
Well, and Pryor's going to ask Garth if he brought her food from McDonald's. Then
Oh,
that's what
right,
they're going to say was in her stomach, that he brought her food,
right.
which is fine, but the throwing up story just keeps not tracking. I know it didn't come up today, and I was surprised it didn't because that had, and that's something that Pryor is going to try and bring up later, which is whatever.
Mhm.
But yeah.
The thing is, I think that his game is becoming more and more apparent, that what
Hmm.
he's doing is he's pitting the family against the experts. And he's
Hmm.
done it already a whole bunch with Emma and with Garth and with, well, but Chad said so. Chad is also the defendant and not a medical doctor. Hello.
Right.
But he just hammers that over and over again. Well, the family said, did you talk to the family? Well, they said blah, blah, blah. The family could say fucking anything, okay?
Right.
They're not held to the standard
No.
that the medical examiner is or that the FBI analysts are.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what the family said because they've already proven over and over again the family lied their asses off and refused to assist the police. Why would you do that? Why would you
Wait.
refuse to assist the police in your mother's death?
Yeah. Why? The way he hammered, because the police were dark, don't you know?
Right.
The police were dark. He had ranked them all as being dark.
Well, and Pryor plays it out. He's like, "Well, I mean, you got that information from the police, didn't you?" To the medical
Right.
examiner, and the medical examiner's like,
Yeah.
"Yeah, that would be my job.
Yeah.
Duh."
The way he acts pissed that Tammy was exhumed. Every time it comes
Oh
up,
my
the way he
gosh.
starts with the whole, and did you notify her family? Did you speak to her family? When the judge decided to yank her out of the ground,
Yeah.
why are you so mad about that? Because your client got arrested for it? So
Yeah.
you're pissed?
Yeah.
I just don't think that's a good look to the jury. I don't think the jury's
It
looking at that
isn't.
going, yeah, they should have never exhumed her. If they hadn't exhumed her, we wouldn't be here right now. So they really shouldn't have done that. I mean, do you really think that's what people are thinking prior? Because that's not
Right.
what anybody's thinking.
Right. So if we hadn't exhumed her, we wouldn't know she was murdered. Oh, okay. Well, that's a great look.
Yeah.
It's just wild. Well, and all the accusations around the hearing to grant the exhumation
Hmm.
and the confronting the medical examiner like it was his fault
Yeah.
and he was there and blah blah and he's like, dude, I just was invited because I'm the medical examiner. Hello.
You
It
went
was
in
the police
front
in
of a
Idaho that
judge.
asked for that.
Yeah. And he's like, I didn't go in front of a judge. But you know what we've never seen?
Mm,
We've never seen that the order of exhumation. I was
it's
thinking
true.
about that today.
Yeah,
I
I
would
don't
really
recall.
like to see that and the supporting documents around that. What did they tell the judge? Because John is asserting that they told the judge that there were other dead people, and that's what
He
and
asserts a
missing kids.
lot,
Uh huh.
but we don't know
But is
what it
that
actually
true?
said.
Right? I'm not sure if those exist out there. I'll do a little searching around to see if I can find them. But I was thinking today, we've never actually seen an order of exhumation. Maybe we wouldn't. Maybe that's not going to be something we get to see. I don't know, but
I
I'm
don't
curious
know.
about that.
Well, but Pryor is mad that, well, he heard about all these other murdered people and thought, well, maybe with this woman was murdered too. Well, no shit.
Hmm.
Of course, that's what the police thought. Of course, that's what the judge thought. Of course, that's what the medical examiner thought. That gave all of those
Hmm.
individuals pause that, okay, maybe there's way more to this
Yeah.
than we are realizing.
Yeah.
And that's not wrong.
Right.
That's just conspiracy, is what that is.
Sorry you're so upset about that, but
Yes, and there were no tears, there was no emotional response
oh, nothing.
whatsoever from
Yep.
Chad today during the autopsy photos. It was disgusting.
And the way they were both looking over the photos, they were sitting real close, hunched together, and really looking through stuff. Nothing.
No emotional response at all. It was
Yeah.
gross.
Just wanted to point out a comment from Heidi. She said, I have a severe
Yes.
form of anemia and need infusions or transfusions every 6 to 9 months. Organ failure, going too fast. Organ failure would be the result. And cause of death, typically it's kidneys first. She would not be able to function.
Right.
Absolutely. And Heidi, I'm so glad that you are on top of that. We have a good friend
I
whose
am too.
niece just went through it and nearly lost her heart and did lose her liver. Yeah,
Did lose her liver, kidney.
kidneys. Yeah, you're right, kidneys,
Had
not
to
liver.
have a kidney transplant, yeah.
Yes, had to have a kidney transplant. As soon as I said it, I'm like, "I know that's wrong."
She'd be
Yeah,
dead, yeah. Yeah,
yeah,
I know. So, it would be a completely different experience for
yeah,
her, and it would be known.
mhm,
Just being diagnosed with anemia by your primary care does not it's
yeah,
not the same thing.
no. But that's what he's trying to and maybe that's what he searched on Google and learned, and so he has no damn idea what he's talking about and just running with it.
Well, his lack of awareness of women in general and women's healthcare
Yeah,
also just blows me away. Like, okay, well, maybe you should learn a little bit more about the fact that a good share of women experience anemia at some time in their
yeah,
life.
yeah,
That is not unusual at all.
mhm.
My 2 cents said, and I totally agree with this, the way that Pryor says, "Okay," or "All right," to the witness when the answer that they give screws him. He does it over and over again. We did a montage of that too. I have some montages
Mhm.
to make, obviously, but he does it a lot. He has a
Yeah,
real tell. You could really tell when he is not getting his way
mhm,
with a witness.
yep. Also, I heard that Pryor gave Chad a haircut before court this morning.
Boy, somebody did, and they did a shit job. I don't know what the hell. They just bzzed all the way around off. I was thinking, our dad was a barber for 40 years, and I was looking at that haircut
Mhm.
thinking, oh my God, my dad would have a heart attack looking at that and be like, who gave him, he would say, who gave him that stupid haircut? That's exactly what he would say.
I wasn't allowed to
Oh,
cut
potato.
my bangs clear up until the time the man died because, well, I did some bad things to my hair.
I was going to
But,
say,
yeah.
that was a courtesy to you. Potato says, or he says, I appreciate that. He does. He does say that too when he doesn't get what he wants. It's funny.
You mean in the instance of, "Well, you own it. How much acreage is it?" "I appreciate that." "Wait a minute. Uh, we need a I don't know. We need a sidebar."
Wow. Well, the Emmy was a massive, massive mic drop, and the way that Pryor's cross just was shut down over and over and over again kicked the defense right in the ass.
Oh, boy.
And then, because this prosecution is brilliant,
Mhm.
they bring in sweet Alice Gilbert.
Mhm.
Alice Gilbert, who was a neighbor and lived in the same ward as Tammy and Chad, and was in the Relief Society presidency. So the Relief Society is the women's organization within the Mormon Church, and so Alice was the president of the Relief Society, and Tammy was one of her counselors. And so they worked together regularly on the women's program. They
Mhm.
met every week. They had a meeting that was an hour or two long every Wednesday, and then they were there together at church.
Mhm.
Alice absolutely blew the doors off this case, I think, with her sweet,
Mhm.
honest
Yeah.
demeanor, her absolute heartbroken response to what has happened
Mhm.
here,
Yep.
and how very trustworthy and believable she was about her experiences
Yes.
with stupid Chad Daybell.
Oh my goodness.
Can
Alice
you
was a baddie.
she
Obviously, Chad totally underestimated Alice. Wow.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and he told her all kinds of things that have been very damaging that I think are really funny. So she talked about, Tammy and how much she loved her and
Mhm.
what a great person she was and how good she was to work with in her role.
Mhm.
And she talked about noticing that in 2019, Chad and Tammy's relationship started to become distant.
Mhm.
She talked about getting the phone call on the day that Tammy died from Emma.
Mhm.
And Chad got right on the phone with her and told her not to tell anyone
For an
that
hour.
Tammy had died for an
Yep.
hour or so. And she said, I need to call the bishop. And you got to understand when there's a death in a Mormon community like this,
Mhm.
the Relief Society mobilizes.
Mhm.
They are going to bring in meals. They're
Mhm.
going to clean your house. They're
Mhm.
going to help plan the funeral and the luncheon after. And
Mhm.
they're going to just surround people. One of the really
Yeah.
positive things about Mormon culture is
Mhm.
the way that they support and love their community.
It's
And
the
so,
way the sisters take care of each other is
yes.
a lot. It is very kind. Yeah.
Yeah. So to not want her to not tell the bishop is weird.
Yeah.
Was he trying to get his story straight? What was he trying to do? Because most people would want the bishop to come over immediately, give everyone a blessing to help ease their grief, and then
Uh-huh.
to immediately start making plans
Mhm.
for the funeral, the luncheon after the funeral, because that's just a standard with Mormon funerals.
Mhm.
Like all of those things, people would want all of that.
Yeah.
Um, and I loved Alice because she said, "Well, he said not to, but I thought that was weird, so I did it anyway."
Well, she said the bishop would be getting ready to go to work, so she
Yeah,
needed to let him know before he left. Yeah.
yeah. And she was onto him from the
Mhm.
second she spoke to him on the phone, that she was like,
What is
"What
going
the
on?
hell?
Mhm.
Why would you not want that support?" And then she and her husband went right over there.
Yep.
They were over there at 8:30 in the morning on the
Yeah.
day that Tam died,
Mhm.
and the kids were there, everybody but Mark.
Yeah.
Everyone was crying, and they showed up just like it happens in these communities to
Mhm.
support everybody and be there for them and try to, you know, do whatever they were in need of.
Mhm.
They're gonna feed you. They'll feed you
Yeah.
to death. Not kidding.
Listen, when our mom died, she did not want a religious funeral in any way.
Yeah.
Uh, she didn't want the church involved at all. When I tell you we had to literally fight the Relief Society, I am telling you the truth. And in
Mhm.
fact, they won. We did eventually let them do the luncheon because they were not backing down, man.
Yeah, they were not.
It had to happen. Like they
And
were
the amount of
dumbfounded.
food that arrived at our dad's house
Oh my
was
gosh.
shocking.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
not just one day, guys. You're talking days and days and days of meals
Oh yeah.
and checking in if you need anything. I mean, it
Mhm.
is a very positive part of
Mhm.
living in a community like that. People really do mobilize, and the women
Mhm.
particularly do that.
Absolutely. When they have babies
And
too. Really, really
yeah,
good to each other when they have babies. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And I know that's, yeah, Catholics do it too. A lot of religious communities
Yeah.
do it. But this
Mhm.
woman, and this was her job, literally, as the Relief Society president. It
Mhm.
was her job and the bishop's job to mobilize, to help this family, and assist with the funeral. That's just what they
Mhm.
all do.
Yeah.
So yeah, to be told don't tell the bishop, that's weird.
Mhm.
Um, so she talked about how quick the funeral was. She said she literally asked Chad if he had planned this. She
Mhm.
said that
Yeah. If
because
he
she
had
could not,
pre-planned this. Yep.
yeah, she could not understand how that funeral came off
Mhm.
that quickly
Mhm.
because it was insanely fast.
Yeah.
And then to find out it was happening in Utah
Mhm.
and was that fast
Yeah.
was shocking to her. And she literally said, "I asked him if he'd planned this."
Yeah.
I loved it that
And
she
even
said
though he
that.
said no, she didn't believe him. I loved it.
No, she
Yeah.
didn't. She
Yep.
didn't. She said, "This is just not what happens, and it doesn't happen
Mhm.
this fast."
Yep.
She talked about how he just didn't seem all that devastated,
Mhm.
and that he didn't seem nearly as sad as his kids did.
Yeah.
Oh, let's see. Let's hear her version of what happened.
Mhm.
When she asked Chad what happened, he said Tammy vomited at midnight. Why does he why does he think vomiting precedes death? Like,
I know.
we've
Just
all vomited many times and not died.
Mhm.
Um, Vomited at midnight, and he thinks she passed away at 2 a.m. Her legs were hanging over the bed and she had fallen out of bed. Chad also said he thought she died of an embolism,
Mhm.
whatever that is,
Yeah.
because he was just making shit up.
Yep. Pretty much.
So she starts trying to sort of help organize like what's going to happen with the funeral, when do you want to do it? And
Yeah.
when he says, "Oh, it's going to be on Tuesday," she's like, "What?" And then says it's going to be in Utah, and she said she felt like the funeral had been planned in advance. And maybe in a lot of ways it had on his
Oh, I
end.
wouldn't be surprised at all. The
Mhm.
one thing he said that I thought was probably true was that when Tammy went to bed, he was in his office working.
Uh-huh.
How much of that time was actually spent planning a funeral?
Right. She said she was really impressed because all of the kids that were available, Mark was still on his mission, spoke at the funeral. And she said she was kind of amazed they all had time to write a talk. And she talked about how he spoke, which she was
Mhm.
surprised by because most spouses do not speak at their spouse's funeral. They're too
No.
devastated to do that. And that when he spoke, this was not a tribute to his wife, but
Mhm.
it was a religious talk,
Mhm.
which is really weird. Really weird.
Mhm.
The fact that he spoke at all was weird, but the fact that it wasn't just a I'm going to stand up and say what a wonderful person my wife was, rather than I'm going to stand up and talk about Mormon doctrine, which does happen in Mormon funerals, but it's generally done by like the bishop,
Mhm.
not the
Bishop and a family friend,
spouse.
maybe. Yeah, but
Yeah,
yeah. Of course, we also do know that he did say that she was difficult to live with, lazy, and depressed.
yeah,
Yeah.
what an ass.
Somebody should have ran
So
him out of the church right then and there.
right there, yeah. Let's see. So then, I mean, this woman does not give up, and this is the thing you have to understand. She knows a lot because
Mhm.
she was around a
Right? She did
lot.
not go away, man. She
No,
also
she
didn't
didn't.
shy away from, like, the most uncomfortable shit ever. She was in the
No,
thick of it.
she was. But that is the job of the Relief Society president. That is absolutely the expectation. She was doing her job. So
Yep.
so she didn't go to the memorial that was in Idaho because she'd been to the one in Utah.
Mhm.
But after the memorial that day, she took a meal over to Chad's house,
Mhm.
and she gets them settled down to eat with Chad and his kids.
Mhm.
And Chad immediately announces that he is moving out of the house, that he has a friend with a condo in Rexburg,
Mhm. Yeah.
and he's going to go stay there.
Yeah.
Who do y'all suppose that friend is?
Mhm.
Because we know who it is because her husband, when he testified, said, a friend with a condo on Pioneer Road.
Yep.
Well, guess where those condos were, where those crazy murderers were living on
Mhm.
Pioneer Road. So she passes that along. Um, he was stunned. She
Yeah.
was stunned that he
Mhm.
was moving out of the house. Also on that Wednesday, Chad told his kids to start going through Tammy's stuff
Mhm.
and get rid of it. Get
Yeah.
it out of here.
Well, in January of that year, some landfill workers and like
Yes.
what is it called? Not the landfill,
The
but the place
transfer
you take
station.
the transfer station workers um, were posting on Facebook, and I have the screenshot somewhere, but I couldn't find them today. That Chad Daybell's kids are bringing truckloads of stuff here and throwing it away, and we think it's Tammy's things, and like, are they allowed to throw her stuff away?
They ultimately
And
called the police.
they called the police, and the police, I know they came over and took a look at what was being thrown out. I don't know if they kept any of it, but yeah, by January they were loading all of her stuff up and not even donating it, just taking it all straight
Just
to the dump.
throwing it away.
Yep.
But that Wednesday after her death, they started going through her things and divvying up her stuff. He
Mhm.
told them to, and so they did.
Yep.
And again, Alice is like, that was so weird and
Mhm.
so uncomfortable, and that is not what someone would immediately be doing, you
Yep.
know? And poor Alice, when she talked about needing to go to the funeral in Utah, she broke down and cried and talked
Yeah.
about how she needed to see Tammy, I think, for this to
Yeah.
be real because this was all so weird and creepy.
Mhm.
By Friday, so we are talking by
Mhm.
the seventh day after Tammy's death,
Mhm.
he's moved out. He's not living in the house anymore.
Mhm.
Garth is living in the house, and Emma is living across the street, and Chad's just gone. Um, a few days after that, the Gilberts wanted to go visit Chad, bring him a pizza, and go see how he was doing. Guess who didn't want him to come over?
Yep.
Chad. He said, "Oh, I'll just come to you. I'll just come to you."
Mhm.
Which again, they thought was weird.
Mhm.
So he shows up at their house, and sweet Alice has made cookies, and they're sitting at the table having
Mhm.
a conversation, checking on this person, feeling like this is someone we care about. We want to make sure he's okay.
Mhm.
And he says that he has met a woman he is going to marry.
Yep.
This is about just slightly more than 1 week
Yeah.
since Tammy's death.
Yep.
He tells them that he met her at a conference in St. George in 2018.
Wow. He told the truth about one thing.
He
Interesting.
told the truth, but he admits to them that he knew this woman
Yeah. Long before Tammy
for a
died.
year before his wife died.
Mhm.
You would immediately be suspicious in that case, wouldn't you? I would be.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
wait a minute. You've known her for a year and
And
now
you're
you're going to marry
marry
her?
her? Your wife died a week ago? Yeah.
Yeah, really weird. They thought that was
Mhm.
super weird. They felt really uncomfortable about it. Alice and her husband did. They finally got him to give them her name. He didn't want to.
Yeah.
And finally, he said it was Lori Vallow. Um, and then she remembered she'd heard her name before because she had listened to a podcast by Melanie Gibb, and Lori was on the podcast.
Mhm.
So they're starting to put together this stuff because it turns out that Alice's kind of dumb husband
Mhm.
was a, was sort of in on the Chad stuff for a while, not
Mhm.
hardcore, but he was familiar.
Mhm. He'd read most of his books. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. So then only a few days later, Chad tells the Gilberts that Lori is in town and would they like to meet her. So they meet up
Did
at
they
the
say
Mormon.
yes? I would have said no.
I know, but I think they are smart because I think at this point they're like something is up.
Right.
So they were just kind of going along, like they were
Yeah.
listening. At this point, they were really listening.
Uh-huh. At least Alice
So
was. Yeah. Her
Alice was,
ears were
yeah, her
very pricked
husband.
up.
I don't know, but yeah,
Mhm.
Alice was. So they meet up at the Mormon temple.
Mhm.
So here is Chad going to the temple with this new woman, and his wife's been dead for not quite 2 weeks at
Mhm.
this point. And meeting there, they meet at the temple, and there's Lori, and Melanie Boudreau was also there.
Mhm.
And then later that week, Lori and Chad show up at the Gilbert's house so that they can get to know Lori.
Mhm.
Can you imagine if this was someone in your life?
No.
How awkward and weird this would be?
Mhm.
And she said it was awkward. They were very affectionate with each other. She said
Yeah.
way more affectionate than she'd ever seen Chad be with Tammy.
Mhm.
And they were like giggling and laughing and stuff. And she actually said that she and her husband were embarrassed by their behavior.
I was just embarrassed hearing about it, so I can imagine. Yeah.
Yeah. So bizarre.
How did Chad not think that this was going to be weird as hell? That
Right.
people weren't going to wonder what the hell was going on? The
Yeah.
audacity of it is just really, really mind blowing.
It really is. It really is. His lack of awareness that other people would find this strange is wow. So they're trying to get to know Lori. Lori says she had a husband who died of a heart attack the previous December.
Hmm.
And here's another big part of the big lie, because Alice asks Lori if she has children.
Mm-hmm.
And Chad said she recently had a daughter who passed away.
Yeah.
And she acknowledged that she has children, but really didn't give a definitive answer as to how many or anything.
Mm-hmm.
Just a
Yep.
very weird experience, but
Yeah.
huge lie.
Yeah.
So a little bit later, not, a few days after that, Chad and Lori, they tell the Gilberts that they're getting married
Mm-hmm.
and that they don't know when or where, but they're also taking Chad's kids to Disneyland at Thanksgiving,
Mm-hmm.
and that Chad is going to Hawaii to write a book.
Yep.
And again, they're just stunned.
Mm-hmm.
You're already marrying this person? Remember, Tammy died on October 19th.
Yeah.
They got married on November 5th.
Yeah.
So very short
Yeah.
period of time here.
Yeah.
When asked, Alice said that she just kind of assumed Lori was an empty nester because she just kind of gave some very vague answers about her children
Mm-hmm.
and if she had children or not.
Yeah. Oh,
And
yeah. Tylee had already been gone for months. Yeah.
oh yeah,
Tylee and JJ
and
both had
JJ.
already been gone for months. Yeah.
They died in September. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So then, because man, Alice, she does not give up.
Mm-hmm.
When it hits the news in November
Mm-hmm.
that Lori's children are missing, she calls Chad and wants to know. She's heard this on the news. Are Lori's children missing? I love Alice, man. We all need an Alice in our lives because she
Mm-hmm.
was not giving up.
No.
And Chad said that, yes, it was just a custody issue and blew it off.
Mm-hmm.
Around that time is when they also learned that Chad and Lori had gotten married and wanted to show them their wedding pictures.
Mm-hmm.
Man, this would just be so gross. And, they pointed out that there were no kids in those pictures. It was just
No.
Chad and Lori on the beach in Hawaii.
Yep.
So then they don't hear from Chad for a while until after Lori is arrested in Hawaii at the end of January. And Chad comes back to Idaho.
Mm-hmm.
And he asks the Gilberts if they would be willing to put up their house for Lori's bond in Hawaii. Can you fucking believe the gall of that?
Again with the audacity. Yeah.
I just holy shit. Can you imagine this?
He even made an appointment for a bondsman to meet with them. I mean, he was
told
invested.
them. He was. He told them that Christ told him to ask them to put up the bond. Are you motherfucking kidding me?
Wow. Yeah.
I mean, and I know we know this. We knew this from Lori's trial too. But every time I hear this story, I am absolutely stunned at the audacity that he would ask this.
Well, he also wanted to live with them.
Yes, he did. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And Alice said she could let him stay one night, but that was it. She could not tolerate him any longer. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
anyway, they said no.
Yeah, they definitely said no. They said they'd think about it. And you think this is one of those things when someone says they'll think about it and they mean no, right? But no, Chad shows up the next day with, "Can I bring the bondsman over?" So they have to literally, to his face, say,
Mm-hmm.
"We're not putting up our house for your wife's bond." Yeah. What the hell?
But Lori was really unhappy at the jail, and it was not good for her to be there, guys. So people who didn't know her at all needed to put their home on the block so that she could get out.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
This part killed me. When Chad asked Alice about the bond, she said she was a little miffed.
Yeah.
She said, I asked him, where are the children? Where's Tylee? She's a teenager. Doesn't she want a life? Doesn't she want a job, a life, and a boyfriend? And he said, she didn't like people and she didn't like me.
Yeah.
And Gilbert noticed that he used the past
Past tense.
tense. Not she doesn't like me,
Mhm,
she didn't like me.
mhm. Well, no shit, Chad. Of course she didn't like you,
No one
but
likes you, you
didn't.
dumbass.
Yep.
Yeah. So Pryor tries to cross examine her, and it's just mostly stupid bullshit about,
Mhm,
well, how many hours a day did you actually, hours a week did you actually see her?
mhm,
And he tried to use it to get in a bunch of dumbass information. Like he's still trying to get in that Chad was parking at the church to use the internet there
mhm.
every morning, wanting to know if she knew that, which she did not. Wanting to know if the house is 2 stories or 1, trying to get her to say that Chad's house is a 1 story, and she said, no, there are stairs up to a bedroom in that addition on the back." That thing we all know about, that everyone knows about, that Pryor should know about since his goddamn property. But she she was so awesome because she was just like, no, she didn't buy at all.
No.
Um, he asked her about Melanie Gibb. 'Cause of
Mhm.
course, "Did you take any of those dark portal classes?" No, he didn't ask that, but we know he was thinking it, right? So he asked about Melanie Gibb, and she's like, all she knew about was the podcast. Um,
I was waiting for him to say, "Would it surprise you to learn that Chad Daybell does not know how to use a shovel?"
right? So stupid. And then, wanting her to tell him about the utilities in their house. She's like,
Yeah.
"What?"
I'm like, "Wait a second. Is this from the lawyer's point of view or the landlord's?" Uh,
Right. Which are you asking about? Are
yeah.
you a slumlord? Yeah.
Well, yes.
So,
Yes, he is.
he also asked if Chad was trying to hide his whereabouts,
Mhm.
and she said no because she was sticking her nose right in that business and she knew
Mhm.
exactly what was going on. Um, it was really dumb. It was like he was trying
Mhm.
to get stuff in through her that really had nothing to do with her testimony, and it just didn't go anywhere.
No, she was great. The one
So
thing
then,
Oh, go
oh,
ahead.
no, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, the one thing we didn't get in her testimony, that we did get last time, but he was quick on the, objection button on this one, but when Tammy died, Emma got super sick and was grieving hard and really ill and not doing well. And the Relief Society was cleaning her house and cooking and like kind of
Oh no,
taking
she
over for
did
her.
say that. She did say
No, no,
that.
I know she got that in. What she
Hmm.
didn't get in was that part about, and he cut her off right at the nick of time, that Emma was starting to say, and we know this because we've heard it before in testimony from her before, that she told Alice that my dad doesn't have any interest in us at all,
Oh, that's right.
which I thought
That's
was
right.
really interesting because it really started
Yes.
making me think, at what point did Emma change her mind? At what point did Emma become a part of the in crowd that was Lori's little BFF that was talking to her independently of Chad while she
Right.
was in jail, that she suddenly became this ardent supporter? Because there in the beginning, Emma was very, very hurt by Chad's behavior
Yeah.
and super sick and grieving and unable to take care of her family. And she's got this help coming in, saying to them, my dad has no interest in us at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He just moved out, left them.
I think he figured out quick that he better get Emma on his team because she would be the kid that would support him the most. And that's
Hmm.
when Lori befriended her and they started talking and they were confiding in her, whatever nonsense. And
Yes.
suddenly Emma is Team Chad.
All of a sudden.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think you're totally right about that.
Hmm.
So then we got uh Todd, Alice's
Kind of derpy husband.
not better half, yeah, on the
I
stand.
mean, he had a very sweet spirit. We can say he had a very sweet
He had
spirit.
a very sweet spirit. He was
He
kind of in on
tried.
the Chad stuff for a while. He read all his
Mhm.
books. He was listening to the podcasts. He liked talking to Chad about this stuff. But he did say that it kind of started to get outside the realm of what was actual Mormon doctrine and that he started to get less comfortable with it over time.
Mhm.
He said he saw Chad about once a week at church, but he would go over and help Chad with plumbing because can you imagine Chad at DIY? Not good. Not good.
No.
Except for a shovel. He knows how to use that.
Oh,
Um,
now we've got it on good authority that he does not.
well, I've heard it both ways. So
Mhm.
then they basically question Todd just to confirm the things that Alice said, the things that they witnessed, that they heard, because he was present for a lot of these conversations and he heard the same stuff that Chad told them about, how Tammy died and about Lori and getting married so soon and all of this stuff that they all thought was really weird. Um, he says, let's see, let's read his version of what happened the night that Tammy died, because, we're up to like 7 or 8 of these.
Mhm.
Chad said Tammy got up around midnight, had a big coughing spell, threw up, and went back to bed. Chad figured Tammy died around 2 a.m. from an embolism, and he said, I don't know how he knows that. And around 5:30 a.m., the weight of her body rolled out of the bed onto the floor.
Mhm.
Dead bodies don't fall out of bed.
Yeah.
Dead bodies don't move.
Yeah.
L, if the shovel doesn't fit, you must have quit. Well, that's good. That is very good. Little Johnny Cochran for you there.
Oh, earlier, oh, good Lord, I can't remember who now. Corin, not Corin, said someone else that they realized today that Pryor looks like a less drunk version of John Boehner. And I think
Oh,
I can't get it
yes.
out of my head now. It's Kaylin that said that.
Kaylin, yeah.
Absolutely correct. Yes.
That's really funny. But yeah, the coughing and the vomiting. Be careful, guys. If you start coughing and vomiting, according to Chad Daybell, you are on death's door.
That's curtains for you. Yep. You better get out your arnica cream.
Also, the anemia,
Mhm.
yikes. So, they basically, he just confirmed that, like, yeah, they knew Tammy, they knew Chad. He never had any concerns about Tammy's health, neither did his wife. These things were all, you know, that they
Mhm.
both experienced this stuff. He confirmed that Chad told them that that Tylee didn't really like him.
Mhm.
Um, and then freaking Pryor comes in, and all he wants to ask him is about the attached building on Daybell's house. As though it isn't an addition on the freaking house. And did it look like anyone even used that? And he said, well, it looked like the whole family used it. There was this whole argument about, well, is there even electricity there? Blah, 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 whatever. There's a ham radio in there, and everyone's freaking out about the ham radio. And I mean, if it didn't have power to it, they'd just bring some extension cords in, and then it would. It was attached to the house,
Right.
you know.
However,
Um,
let's take a quick look at it.
yeah, yes,
What do you
because
see
there's a
right here?
bedroom in there. Well, there looks like a lamp and possibly a an alarm clock there.
Mhm. You know what it
Don't think
takes
it.
to run lamps and alarm clocks, as I've heard?
Yes, I'm no expert.
Electricity. Yeah. No. Well, electricity. Weird.
Yeah,
I just don't know.
yeah,
I wish he also would have said, well, you own it. Does it have electricity?
I know. But that was really the only reason he even wanted to cross-examine Gilbert was to ask this stuff.
Hmm.
He did ask him a little bit about, of course, Melanie Gibb and if she is involved in an organization attached to the LDS faith called Preparing a People. Preparing People is not attached to the LDS Church in any way.
No.
Um,
A lot of
so
LDS
he
people speak at
are
their things and go to their things, but they're not
right.
attached to the church. No.
No, they're not connected. So they talked a little bit about that, and whatever, kind of just confirmed this other stuff, and that this guy knew of Chad and Melanie
Mhm.
a little bit because of all of the Preparing People stuff.
Yeah.
So then they release Gilbert, and they bring in, I think, possibly the smartest insurance agent I've ever seen.
Holy moly.
Janice Olson
Mhm.
deserves a gold star and a raise
Mhm.
because she was amazing. And I'd kind of forgotten about her testimony. But this was awesome.
Mhm.
Oh, wait, no, I'm sorry. Janice Olson is not the insurance agent. Janice Olson is a teacher at Tammy's school.
That's right. I was going to say
Right.
Janice. I was actually looking through my notes right now because I'm like, that was not her name. I can't remember what it was.
No, it's Taylor Ballard that's the insurance
There
broker.
you go.
But basically, it was just another teacher who came in and said, yeah, Tammy was a goer and a doer, and she was healthy and awesome. And I saw her all the time, and I saw no indication of her being sick at all.
Yeah.
Which was pretty cool. And then we get
However,
Taylor Ballard.
Pryor did point out that Tammy was not walking around the school all that much because classes were brought to her. So
then the prosecution said, did you see Tammy walking around at school? And she said, many times a day. She brought books to my classroom and then picked up the old ones and took them back. And, she was talking all about it. It totally backfired on Pryor. Totally.
It was the dumbest conversation. The stuff that he
It was.
chooses to fire in on is just what? I know.
Yeah.
Anyway, carry on.
Makes no sense. So then we get Insurance Agent of the Year, Taylor Ballard.
Mhm.
So she works at Ballard Insurance Group. And she met Chad on October 31st, 2019, because he was looking to get individual health insurance policies for him and his kids because they were losing their medical insurance because
Mhm.
Tammy's insurance came through her job and they were losing their insurance. So he was asking for health insurance for himself, Seth, Leah, and Mark. So they talked about his income. And Chad said without his wife's income, his self-employment as a book publisher would operate at a loss.
Mhm.
He lied, said he
Mhm.
didn't have any income, basically. And so she was trying to actually get some of his kids on Medicaid,
Mhm.
but found out that he, in fact, did have an income and that was not true.
Yeah.
She texted him on November 5th asking for his tax returns, which I thought was funny because that was their wedding day. And he said he was out of town all week, but he'd be back in.
Mhm.
So,
Really probably interrupted his ukulele playing for that,
oh God, probably,
to be
right?
fair. Yeah.
Yeah. So in talking to her, Chad just cannot stop talking. He cannot stop confiding stuff in people.
Mhm.
And he tells her as they're trying to figure this insurance thing out, I'll be honest with you, I'll probably be married by the end of the year. This jackass was already married at that point.
Mhm.
He had already married Lori by the time he had that conversation.
Yeah.
He never mentioned JJ or Tylee or insurance for them in any way.
Yep.
And weirdly, he had used her insurance office's address for mail for him. So
Mhm.
she received 5 letters that were addressed to him, but sent to her work address.
Mhm.
And they were from health and welfare, and they were insurance related, but that was a strange thing.
Yeah.
Finally, on December 11th, he picked up the health insurance plan and paid for it. Again, didn't mention JJ, Tylee, or Lori. Then she was in health and welfare on December 23rd and heard that Chad had remarried and who had 2 children that were missing.
Mhm.
And now again, we got another busybody who did some good work here.
Uh-huh.
because she went, "Why didn't he bring up these kids? Why didn't he tell me any of this?" And she said,
Mhm.
"I thought that we might have life insurance fraud here,"
Yeah.
which I thought was pretty great.
Yep. And she, being the life or the insurance agent across the board, he didn't have to go to her. He could have
Mm-mm.
gone to any broker in this town. Hell, he could have gone
No,
straight through health and welfare to get because they were just getting on like Obamacare. Uh, but he chose to go to her because he knew her name because she handled the school district stuff, so that was easy for him. But that
yeah,
was a huge mistake because she had access to all of those life insurance documents.
yeah. So she knew because she handled their health, life, and disability insurance before Tammy died. She
Mhm.
had all of that. And she went and looked it up and knew that her life insurance had been upped to the max
Mhm.
in August or September and then had been paid out at her death. So then, because Chad is still the dumbest criminal on the planet,
Mhm.
in March comes in again to ask about getting health insurance for his wife.
Mhm.
And he says his wife, Lori Daybell, Lori Ryan Daybell is the
Yeah.
name that he gave.
Mhm.
And he said that they were married on November 5th of 2019 and that he needed to get her insurance and also that she was incarcerated.
Yep.
And she had to explain to him that she didn't need health insurance while she was in jail because the state would be taking care of that for her.
Mhm. But he said she'd be out next week.
Yeah. Yeah. And then she said that she needed to get some information, some income information from him. And he said he can't because they confiscated my computer and I haven't been able to pay myself yet. And she said, they? And he said, the FBI. And he's literally telling the agent that has one of the main insurance policy on Tammy. Like,
He's just deadpan telling her this stuff. Can
yeah.
you imagine?
And she's going, holy shit, I've got like 40 phone calls to make. She said, I was worried Tammy's death may not have been an accident and the life insurance
Yeah.
money was paid out when it shouldn't have been.
Yeah.
So then he reaches out again on March 16th. This guy cannot stop.
Mhm.
Um, that he had received some information from health and welfare that Lori's identity could not be verified.
Mhm.
So Chad provided his marriage certificate. Remember, there were all these questions about was there a marriage certificate? Why, yes, there was because Miss Taylor Ballard had it. He
Yeah.
provided his marriage certificate and her driver's license for her identity.
Mhm.
And the last time she spoke to him was on March 26th.
Yep.
It was wild.
Yep. She was fantastic.
She
She
was.
remembered dates. The dates she remembered were astonishing. Yep.
They really
She
were.
was fabulous. Yep.
She also noted that on March 11th, Chad appeared thinner and tanner,
Yeah, she
and he
did.
was
Oh,
wearing a black ring.
yes.
It was so amazing. Like her memory for detail was incredible.
She was great. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm watching Chad and Pryor, and you can tell Pryor's just kind of sitting there going, okay,
We're fucked.
I'd like to go home and drink now.
Yeah.
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 Yep.
So Pryor on cross, because this is the thing he's harped on from the beginning, tries to bring up the whole thing that Tammy was in her probationary period, her first year, and so then she had to up it the next year, and it wasn't it usual to get the maximum amount of insurance, and isn't that how it works at the school? And Ballard was kind of like, I don't know,
Yeah.
but he had to make that's the reason she upped her insurance is because that's why, and
Yeah.
he's just made that up in his head.
Hmm. Yeah. On the rings, I don't know. She said that the first ring she saw him wearing was a turquoise wedding band.
Yeah,
And then the second ring was black. I'm assuming that was the malachite ring, but
yeah,
not sure.
but yeah, I mean, she literally noticed The
Mhm.
rings, man, was so good to just hear from these women today that absolutely have run circles around this idiot.
Mhm. I only would
There
have liked
wasn't
it better had she said, "He looked thinner and tanner. He used to be pretty fat."
yeah.
I'm not a fan of fat shaming, but I'll make an exception for Chad.
Oh,
But
fuck yeah. Yeah. She also just said that, hey, by the way, Lori Vallow's children never came up in a single conversation.
yep, yep,
And that was the end of today.
yeah.
But it was powerful.
Mhm.
It just win after win after win for the prosecution and pathetic defeat on the part of the defense. It was just the stuff with the medical examiner. I will go make a
Mhm.
montage because the
Mhm.
the constant the objecting and over again because he just was starting up shit over and over again,
Oh,
and he would start it up and the judge would sustain her objection and then he'd just try to say it again.
yeah.
It
Well, he
was
was desperate.
he was
He was desperate.
desperate is exactly what he was.
Yeah, he objected repeatedly to the cause of death. The cause of death! Isn't that exactly what the medical examiner is there to report? And
Yeah,
every time he
tried to
tried to
say
spit it
that
out of his mouth.
that was what did he try to say it was? Um I don't know. Like it was basically just his opinion.
It sounded like this to
Well,
me.
yeah, no
Objection!
shit.
Making my client look guilty.
Yes, it did. There was a lot of that. Like, well, the
Mhm.
one person who has the right to form an opinion about the cause of death is and that's what Lindsay Blake kept saying things like, "Your Honor, he completed the autopsy." Like, it's like literally his job. If
He
there's
is the
one
professional.
person that can do that,
Yeah. Yeah,
yeah,
the
he
judge
did have
finally had to tell him, yep, to let the witness answer. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yep.
It was a wild day.
You could
It
tell
was a
he was
good
geared
day.
up for a fight with the ME. So when court was getting going this morning, people in the courtroom are saying that Matt Daybell was there, Chad's brother.
Yes.
Yeah, this is the husband of hero Heather Daybell. And
Mhm.
so we were all like, oh, is Heather going to testify today?
I
Well,
know.
apparently, when he walked in, Chad kind of lit up and said to Pryor, "That's my brother. He's not there for you, stupid. He's
He
not there
sat
to
with Kay
support
and
you,
Mary.
Chad." But it was like,
No.
I kind of had the feeling that for just a minute, he was like, someone's here to support me, you know, or there's a familiar, a friendly face here. No, honey, not at all. And then at lunchtime, or maybe it was the morning break, a deputy came and got Matt and he went with him downstairs. And so people were like, holy shit, is he getting served with a subpoena right now? Turns out, no. He told Lauren from Hidden that he was just went downstairs to talk to the prosecutors. And I think he's there for the next couple of days just to show support. So we don't know if that means that Heather is here and ready to testify, or if she isn't. He didn't say that, so we don't know. But
I
I
know.
just that's an interesting thing that when he walked in the room, Chad went, "My brother's here.
Yeah.
Did you think he was here to support you, Chad?"
He's here during the prosecution's case, buddy.
Hmm.
And he's sitting with the grandparents
Hmm.
of JJ.
Yep.
He's not
Yeah.
here for you.
Yeah.
No.
Really something. Yep.
Yeah. It was wild.
Hmm.
But it was nice to see some family show up
Yep.
on
Yep.
that side, you know?
Uh-huh. Sounds like there
I
was
hope
more
we
of
see
Lori's
more of
family
that.
there today too. Yeah.
Yeah. I, I mean, it'd be great if some kids showed up for their mother, but
That's
doesn't appear
apparently
that's going
not
to
going to
happen.
happen. Yep. Also
Yeah.
read something on Reddit today that really rocked my world. There's a man that's posting in a Reddit group who, and I spent hours reading everything he posted, and I fully believe him from what I
Hmm.
read. And I'll tell you that if I didn't, I wouldn't share this with you. But I felt very confident that this was credible. Uh, his little sister is married to Garth. He didn't share his name, but he said he's from the Salem area, and the things that he said absolutely tracked for where he would, live and the people
Hmm.
there and whatnot.
Yeah.
Uh, His little sister met Garth and started dating him when he was substitute teaching at the high school. She was 16. And this was all just right around the time that all this shit happened, just a little bit after. This person literally doesn't speak to their family over anymore over it because they were so horrified by it. But apparently, his sister is quite the chat supporter these days. He said that they use Telmate, that it's like FaceTime. They use Telmate so that Chad could be present and watch their proposal, their engagement from the jail.
That is so
Yeah.
disgusting and terrifying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But Garth is 10 years older than that little girl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what you call illegal.
Mm-hmm. And met her while he was substitute teaching. Holy shit. Yeah. Yeah. So that's something.
That is something. That is something horrible.
Mm-hmm.
We did hear that there was a car in the parking garage from Arizona with Arizona plates.
Mm.
We don't know who that is, but it could be. There are some people still to be on the stand from Arizona. We don't know what's coming tomorrow. They finished up with Taylor Ballard today, so it's going to be somebody brand new tomorrow.
Yep.
They did indicate that they had about 15 minutes left, and the prosecution did indicate that they did have another witness ready, but that they were going to take more than the 14 minutes they had. So they might as well just end and start off the next day.
Yeah.
And so yeah, we'll see.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Yeah. Could it be
Yeah.
Zulema? Sure. Certainly
Yeah,
could
it
be
could.
Zulema.
It could also be Melanie Pulowski.
Yes, it could.
Yeah.
And could we be seeing Heather Daybell on the stand? I really hope we do.
I'll bet we
Let's
are.
see.
I'll bet he couldn't say that, but I'll bet we are. I still think so. Some of you guys have brought to our attention a picture of Emma. Emma she doesn't teach at the school anymore where Tammy was. She teaches at an adjacent school. But her staff photo is really odd. If you've seen pictures of Emma before, she has long, straight, dark hair. Looks a lot like her mom, actually.
She does.
But in her staff photo, her hair is bleached blonde and braided in like little side braid thing. She looks a lot like Lori. It's weird. Yeah.
That is
It
weird.
is creepy. Yep.
It is. If that's.
Oh, I'm with you, Kaylin. I cannot wait for Zulema. She was so powerful last time.
She was.
I can't even imagine what's going to happen on Cross. R.I.P. you, Zulema, because I don't know. That's going to be hard, but
yeah, it is.
I'm here for it. Yeah.
Interesting stuff.
Yep.
I think the prosecution's probably got still another couple of weeks worth of witnesses. I mean,
we haven't even done the kids yet.
Yeah.
There's still a
we're
long
just
ways
up to
to go on
Tammy's
that.
murder and just moving in time toward, well, not really in time, but into their deaths. And so there's a lot more.
Mm-hmm. Are the kids going to testify? Well, according to Pryor, they are. We think that the defense is calling them. He said in the opening 3, if not 4, of Chad's kids. I'll tell you right now, I don't think it's 4, and I don't think it's 3. I think it's 2 of Chad's kids and 1 of Chad's kid-in-law.
Yeah.
I think we're going to see Garth. I think we're going to see Emma, and I think we're going to see her husband, Joe. That's what I think. Now, maybe I'll be proven wrong, but that's what I think.
Yeah, I think so as well. Mm-hmm. But we're a long ways, I think, from the defense getting their shot. Mm-hmm. Getting their crack at the apple.
Dear God.
Some of you probably don't even know that joke. Maybe you do. It's something John Pryor used to say all the time in hearings.
Mm-hmm. Judge, I'd like to have my crack at the apple. Yeah.
Do or don't, depending on how you feel about things. Look that up on Urban Dictionary because it does not mean what John Pryor thinks it means.
Hell, it didn't mean what I thought it meant. Yeah.
Yeah. So we have been dying over that.
How old is Garth and his wife? I can't tell you for certain. I'm going to guess right now they're around 32 and 22,
Something like that.
somewhere in that ballpark. Yeah,
Well, probably more like 20 and 30.
20,
If
30.
she was 16 when they met and it was after all this started to go down,
Right.
probably more like 20 and 30.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Yeah.
Will they be able to ask the kids if they believe Chad is a prophet? Hell yeah, they'll be able to ask that.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely, they will.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Well, we better get out of here. Let you all get some sleep. We need to get some sleep because we're going to be
Yeah.
back here in 12 hours.
It's coming. All right. So full disclosure, I won't be here for the next 2 days. I'm going to be softball momming, but I'll be listening and in the chat and hanging out as much as
I'll
I
be
can.
here.
But Kristi will be here. She'll be running the live stream at night. She's going to do all the things. So thank you
I
very
will.
much for doing that.
You betcha. I'll be here. And I think my internet got fixed today. I've not had a single glitch since they replaced my modem. Not my modem, my router. So I think we're good.
Yes. Fingers, toes crossed.
We better be. Or Silver Star is going to be.
They're going to get the phone
I'm
call.
going to be getting a crack at that apple. No, just kidding.
Yeah. I mean, okay then.
Yikes. All right. Well, we will be back tomorrow morning at 8:30 a.m. for trial coverage if you are available. And if not, we will be back tomorrow night for the summary. So thank you all so much for being here. Please be sure to like, subscribe, share, comment, follow us wherever you find us, and leave a review if you can. Like some Spotify lets you, Apple lets you, some of those places. Please leave us reviews as well. Those things all really help us to grow. And so any little thing you can do to help us just get out there a little further as we get through this trial, we would be so appreciative.
Oh, and if you're patrons, keep your eyes peeled. 2 new Patreons dropped yesterday.
And I did a little discussion about defining a cult. And does it apply to Chad Daybell and his little group of crazy people? So, and Katie did a really interesting sort of vampire-y kind of murder.
Yeah, this murder that just happened in Italy. I'll tell you, it took me down the rabbit hole of history, geography. I learned more about this little area in Italy than I ever thought I wanted to know, and now I need to go there. That's what's happening.
Wow, how interesting. So yeah, check that out on Patreon. Those are available. Say what, Katie?
Oh, I said there's a link to the merch store.
Oh, yes.
Coco was asking. Yeah.
So
some of these guys wanted to know how they could buy a fidget from you as well.
Oh, go to fidgetwhimsy.com. Or, well, actually, go to Fidget Whimsy on Instagram. Because I don't know, my domain name doesn't always work. But if you go to Fidget Whimsy on Instagram, you can find it. And my snails are there. And there's going to be a lot more things there. I've just been a little preoccupied, as you can imagine.
I can't imagine what you've been doing.
I don't just make snails. I make a lot of other things as well. But there are some things there now. And with that, we are the True Crime Squad. Thanks for being here.
Take care.